He's never fought us. Not us united.
Die. Oh! I can so see that. That's it. Welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared, and I'm here with JHeat. What's up, brother?
What's up?
And making his epic return to Comics League is Wes from Thinking Critical. What's up, dude?
Not much. Just enjoying some comic book talk. At least I'm looking forward to it.
Heck yeah. So today we're going to be talking about our favorite comic book runs. Now, this could be for any publisher, character. It makes no difference to me. I will start Ed Brubaker on Captain America.
Absolutely. The last great Captain America run.
Yeah, literally from there, it's all gone downhill. Because if you think about it, there you have like the Winter Soldier, Bucky becoming Captain. Basically, the MCU Captain America is the Ed Brubaker Captain America.
Pretty much.
Which, I'm sorry, go ahead, JHeat.
Yeah, and I have nothing against Falcon being Cap, but Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of, at least in my opinion, felt like a downgrade compared to its source material.
It was.
That's just my.
But what about you, Wes, in terms of like Ed Brubaker Cap?
Well, that's a fantastic comic story. There's really some great moments on there when Cap is lying like on the bed, like after he's been shot, and you're kind of waiting for the worst. It followed up, Civil War, some classic moments in there. So the art's actually really striking too. It's very well illustrated, and everyone thinks that Ed Brubaker is this real crime noir genre writer, but the guy was an amazing superhero writer as well. Obviously, he was taking his crime noir kind of focus and leading it into Batman, especially, even, less so in Captain America. But he did so many cool things, and to go back and take something that existed, and twist the way that you think about it and create something new out of it, like he did with the Winter Soldier, which is just a really compelling story. It's fantastic stuff. We just don't have enough writers like that anymore.
Yeah, because we know that like after this came like the Ta-Nehisi Coates run, which everyone admits was a huge mistake. And
I think he also had the Rick Remender Dimension Z or whatever run, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, so you hire people that obviously have demonstrated that they don't understand what's important about Captain America. And I'm like, okay, well, you're following. Brubaker gave you the formula. Just do that. What about you, Wes? What's a comic book run that you enjoy a lot?
Well, my favorite comic run, the reason that I'm still reading comic books today, really, I may have named one of my children after this story, is the Exo Manowar run from Robert Venditti from Valiant Comics, which I think is absolutely amazing. When they did the revamp of the Valiant universe after it had been dormant for about 20 years after Acclaim acquired it and basically killed it off, trying to make it into a video game, I guess, IP farm. I guess they were ahead of the curve even before the MCU. Venditti came in, and he was kind of an unknown. He had written Surrogates, which is a movie with Bruce Willis, and he'd done some writing here and there, but they gave him the flagship character, and he really did some amazing things. He really basically has a retelling of the Exodus story in the first 3 volumes of that, where Eric Abdassi is taken along with his people in the Visigoth tribe. They're taken into space. He frees them. He ends up with the Shanhara armor. So basically, he's Conan in an Iron Man suit. He ends up freeing his people, bringing them back to Earth, although it's like 1,000 years later, and he has to find a place for them to be. And you get some great art, especially up front, with Carrie Nord, who's basically peerless. You also get Tomas Giorello later on in that run, and you get some really cool events too. It intersects with Harbinger Wars, which is a really cool run, which is a really cool event by Valiant Comics, as well as Armor Hunters, which Venditti writes himself, which really fleshes out the lore of Shanhar, the armor that Exo Manowar Eric Abdassi is wearing. And it's just such an impactful run to me. It just means so much to me. I've got the singles, I've got the trades. I wish I had, the hardcover that they did, but it's too expensive and too rare to find.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's always like it's like I want this collected, but it's like $800, and I'm like, God dang it!
Especially with a lot of those value books.
Yeah,
They just weren't printed enough.
exactly. What about you, JHeat? What's a favorite comic book run of yours?
I would have to say Under the Red Hood.
Oh yes, oh
Absolutely.
yes.
That's a solid run.
And honestly, one of the few examples of the animated movie reflecting fairly well the source material, because normally when they adapt comic books, they don't exactly go with one-to-one recreations.
Really,
Now,
they only
Batman-
add the one scene in the bathroom, right? Other than that, it's basically the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
It's unlike movies like The Killing Joke. We all know how that turned out. Oh gosh. Now,
I
what
still
were you
say
doing?
that was mostly padding. They had 30 minutes to kill.
Yeah, but you could do a different story instead of Batman sleeping with Batgirl.
Artistic choices were made. But Under the Red Hood is absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite Batman stories ever told. They had hinted at the return of Jason Todd, obviously, in Hush, but it turned out to be a little bit of a swerve. Obviously, several years later, after laying the groundwork that maybe it could happen, they bring him back, and he's got an axe to grind, and he's got a legitimate beef with Batman. And while you know what he's doing is wrong, you completely see why he's doing it and why he's being maybe a little bit more lethal than Batman, but Batman has to take him down. This is a fantastic story, really well illustrated, brings back that classic Joker Red Hood kind of look and stuff, and plays into some really cool stuff. A lot like your Captain America run there did too, where you take something that was in the past, you twist it, you remold it, you refocus it, and you have something great that's new.
Exactly. Now, for my next, I'm sorry, go ahead, JHeat.
Another solid book is the Grant Morrison run, which was pretty. Grant Morrison Batman run. Now, Damian was a bit of a brat starting out, but even Morrison admitted that was on purpose. But other than that, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I think his Batman and Robin with Dick Grayson as Batman and Damian Wayne as Robin is just fantastic. It's
I have a couple
probably the best Batman and Robin run ever, where it's just those two characters focused on.
It's if you ever want to see the Odd Couple but superheroes, it's that book right there. But my next run, I'm gonna go with a little bit of a curveball on there. Greg Rucka on Wonder Woman. Now, we've complained that Wonder Woman doesn't really get that many good runs, which she doesn't. But with the Rucka run, and I'm talking about like the pre-Rebirth run, you have like Hikatea, where she beats up Batman, and that's never going to stop being satisfying. And you also, that was like that, and like I think the George Perez one where they really tried to like anchor her in Greek myth, which makes sense considering her origins and where she comes from and all that stuff. But so I, as a fan of Greek myths, I really appreciated when they tried to combine those elements.
Yeah, Greg Rucka's probably the last great Wonder Woman run, and there just haven't been a whole lot of them out there. And it's just something that should be influential in Wonder Woman today, and it's unfortunate that it's not. I know Greg Rucka obviously came back to Wonder Woman, and, well, he didn't really succeed that second time. But if you're looking for inspiration on how to write Wonder Woman for modern comic book fans, that's where you should be going to. And what you see nowadays with Clunrad, it's kind of depressing when you know that, you know, the blueprint is out there for a really good, solid Wonder Woman run.
Are you telling me you didn't enjoy Trial of the Amazons?
No, I didn't like the milk. I don't like the milk stuff that's going on right now. It's all kind of stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of comic books nowadays. But yeah. So, what about you, Wes? What's your next favorite comic book run?
I'm going back to Valiant Comics. This is my favorite publisher. They're for like 5 years. They're absolutely amazing.
There you go.
And this is actually my favorite comic book storyline. It's a run because it's a miniseries that finishes off an event, but it's called Rye by Matt Kent, who I've had on the channel. He's a great guy. It's basically it's mixing in 1984 with the Matrix, with the badass, metal samurai guy that's the protector of New Japan.
Nice.
And it's 12 issues with Clayton Crane illustrating the entire thing, doing all the covers and all the interiors. Then there's 4 extra issues after that, but that's all kind of like filler and talking about other characters, because it goes into this event called 4001 AD, where Kent and Crane basically finish their story where Rai is a fallen samurai. Basically, he's a Ronin. He's been cast down to Earth. He has to return, and it has one of the best connective tissues I've ever seen in a comic book story. Before that, they had like the death of the characters in the Valiant universe, and you were going to see kind of where they died. And you saw where Ninja K died, and he like plants his sword in the ground, and you see this like flower bloom. And in this story, Rai finds this tree like in the middle of nowhere, and it's just beautiful. It's all bloomed up, and he finds a sword in there. And he takes Ninja K's sword back to New Japan and kills father. It was amazing.
That's awesome. Well, I think about 1984 and The Matrix actually blend really well when you think about the
thematically.
Yes,
Yes,
that's actually really interesting. Thematically, yes. Certain other elements, no. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised more people haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that one's really great. If you want to see some amazing what digital art could be on its best day, because Clayton Crane is an amazing digital artist. No matter how I think about him in his personal life nowadays, that book looks like $1 million, and the story is just perfect.
I will check that out. What about you, JHeat?
Uh-oh. Did we lose the heat?
JHeat? Oh, I think he's muted. JHeat, okay, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
What's your next favorite comic book run?
Okay, I mentioned 2 DC. What about a Marvel run? You already took the Kubert Captain America. That was a good one. Hickman's X-Men.
Yes, the one that had the most potential but has been squandered.
House of X Powers of 10 bleeding into his X-Men. He also had New Mutants there for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Man, House of X and Powers of 10 is just perfect. Even though it had 2 artists, there wasn't much difference between them. It felt like something special. Like you were seeing a genius take something that had stagnated. They could basically only tell the same story over and over and over and over again. And he readjusted it. He re-looked at how it could be. And he had the blueprint for the future of X-Men and potentially just Marvel Comics in general. And they completely squandered it. But it's amazing when it happens.
Ironically, the X-Men are at the level that they were before Hickman came in and did House of X Powers of 10. So really, it's like, hey, everything goes full circle.
Basically.
But yeah, Hickman's also one of the writers that I desperately want to. Hickman is one of those writers that I desperately want to go to DC and maybe do like a Justice League run, because I think Hickman would hit the nail out.
Legion of Superheroes.
Or Legion of Superheroes.
Dream job.
Yeah, exactly. Or Legion, one of those big teams that has a lot of lore behind them. I think he could really like bring them together. I think that'd be really, really cool. My next run is honestly a Marvel run, and it's a run that I'm in the middle of reading, but it's Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, which I just started. I got every single trade of it, and I'm liking the whole Matt is like framed for murder, and then he has to deal with like Kingpin being the mayor of New York, and in addition, all the vigilantes have to deal with that. But and now he's hanging out with Elektra, so I really like the whole. I like when they put a new status quo on the character that's never really been placed on the character before, if that makes sense.
It's a really good run, and it's really well illustrated with Marco Cicchetto, especially stuff he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But get ready for disappointment, because once you get into Devil's Raid, it might go down a little bit when they relaunch it as a #1. But there for a while, that Daredevil run was the best comic book in the entire comic book market. It was basically peerless. It looked beautiful. It read amazing, and it had tie-ins to King in Black that actually felt like they were impactful. Maybe not to King in Black, but to Daredevil himself, and it felt like they were meaningful, which almost never happens in comics.
King in Black was one of the most egregious cases of like every book Marvel publishes has to tie in, even ones that have no right to tie into King in Black. Like
it was Dottie Cates, and he was their hot writer. They knew it was going to be a success after Absolute Carnage.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, and I'm a dude that's just getting into Daredevil, and the run is actually really easy to just hop into if you're a first time Daredevil reader. You don't necessarily have to like check out a lot of stuff because it explains a lot about Daredevil and the status quo immediately from the first issue. So like,
now, Frank Miller did eventually fall off, but you got to respect his Daredevil run.
That's the best Daredevil run of all times.
Oh yeah, for Daredevil Born Again. Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
One of the 10 best runs of all time, really, just in comic books in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Wes, what's your next favorite comic book run?
I like DC Comics. It's my favorite shared universe, other than that, like 4 or 5 year period out of Valiant Comics. And I think probably the most creative, coolest thing really ever to happen at DC Comics was the Denny O'Neil Batman run. You get so many great artists in there. Obviously, you get Adams coming in, doing the Ra's al Ghul stuff, and just changing your mind about what a superhero comic could look like. But he also reestablished basically all of the Batman rogues gallery. They had all been thrown to the wayside. We hadn't seen Joker in so long. And the teeth had really been taken out of those villains because of the TV show. Like during the 60s and 70s or whatever, it was so campy. And the villains weren't dangerous. And Denny O'Neil brought them all back really in his first year on Batman. And he revitalized them. And he made them more dangerous. And basically ever since then, Batman's been the #1 book in all of comic books for the most part. And he was just so revolutionary. And then when he was done with that, obviously he became the group editor for Batman, and things got even better when he was taking over basically the entire line, and everything was amazing. You were getting great Dick Grayson stories. You're getting amazing Batman stories. Detective Comics was kicking butt and taking names. But, man, Denny O'Neil does not get enough credit, if you ask me.
No, he does not. And he's one of the few writers that has written political content in the past, but manages to make it like it's not I'm not trying to force my opinions on you like with Green Lantern, Green Arrow, or like in Batman. He's one of those writers that I can read and I know it's going to be a good time. Plus the fact you can never get too much Neil Adams Batman. You really cannot. You really cannot. That's like one of the best drawn Batman ever.
Can't complain. Can't complain.
Yeah, I can't complain. What about you, JHeat?
Well, you're throwing classics left and right, but I think I can top it. The Phoenix Saga.
Ooh, Claremont's X-Men. Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's only about 35 issues. That is absolutely a run to get through that story when they first start introducing it with Jean Grey coming back to Earth, and all of a sudden her powers start going bad. She might go a little off the reservation. Chris Claremont at his best.
Of course. And they also very, 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 very faithfully adapted that in the X-Men animated series. So I was like, yes. Yeah, but apparently they still don't know how to turn that into a movie.
They only tried it 3 times now.
They only tried it 3 times, exactly. You know the MCU is going to try that immediately because they don't understand that you have to build up to the Phoenix Saga in order for it to be impactful. But that's just the MCU nowadays.
Really, you could just say the entire Claremont run, but there's so much of it. It's like 12 or 13, maybe it's 15 years of just solid X-Men, and it's all perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not only that. You have like Days of Future Past. You have the Wolverine run. There's so much there that is just so solid. But my next run is a DC run. It's kind of like a story, but like it's a miniseries. All-Star Superman. Because if you ever need to explain to someone who Superman is, what the character represents, just put that graphic novel in front of them. Because even though it's kind of an Elseworld story, it perfectly like boils down the essence of Superman.
Indeed.
Cannot disagree with that. All-Star Superman. There's a reason that it's a good idea to take from that and make it into Superman Legacy for the movie. Obviously, it's not going to be the story because he's kind of dying or whatever, but that is the most idealistic version of Superman and what he means to the DC Comics universe. And yeah, if you're new to comic books and you want to discover why a comic book character is great, you go read All-Star Superman.
Plus the fact what that book does is so a lot of Superman books look campy and all that because of like he's invincible. He's like always the big blue Boy Scout. But I think All-Star does it in a way that it doesn't come off as like 1940 style and comes off as like what I mean is that it makes Superman more modern without losing the core of the character, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he was trying to do, and mission accomplished on that one.
Heck yeah. And it's one of the Grant Morrison books that I can actually understand because we covered Final Crisis back in the day, and I still don't understand what the hell happened with that storyline.
I still think that was just an acid trip, the comic.
Yeah, exactly. What's next, Wes? What's your next favorite run?
Well, you're going to the British invasion. I'll go to the British invasion as well, but I'm going Alan Moore, Swamp Thing.
Yes.
Swamp Thing was thought up, I think, just like on the subway by Len Wein, and it was certainly an exciting character. It was interesting stuff. It already had a movie made about the character. I think by the time Alan Moore comes on with Stephen Bissett on art, but it just blows your mind the way that he explains what Swamp Thing really is. He's not a man. He's actually a plant that has the essence of a man in there. And when you get that wonderful issue where it's got I think it's Anatomy Lessons, the name of it, where it's got all like the body parts that the plants have regrown as it's trying to mimic being a human. And it's the best exploration of humanity I've ever seen in a comic book. It's basically what he does with Dr. Manhattan, but a billion times better with one single character that he gets to focus on. And the Stephen Bissett art is just perfect for it. And once you realize that's like the first work he ever did in comic books.
Wow.
And it's that influential. I think he's only in his 20s at the time. And just absolutely perfection. I think it's the best comic book story I've ever read outside of Rye.
The ironic part, Alan Moore's not really a fan of superhero stories.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And I think it bodes well.
That, but when you read his Superman stuff, I feel differently.
Yeah, he's clearly a Superman fan. If you read like, what do you get for the man who has everything and all that? I'm like, yeah, you're a Superman fan, dude. But when you read that run, because I'm going through it too, I'm like, yes, if you're gonna make a Swamp Thing series, which I kind of saw that coming, but okay, but that's the run to go off of because, like you said, it explains everything in the run. It explains everything about the character, plus the fact it reads like a TV show, like one of those old horror TV shows. So it really works really well.
It's going to be so difficult to adapt, though. Most of it's just him by himself.
I'm sure James Gunn will
contemplating what's happening. And I hope when they get to Anatomy Lesson, obviously within the movie that they're going to do, when they get to that scene, I hope it lives up to the comic book because the bar has been set so high. But I'm anticipating it. That's a good thing.
What about
now,
you,
this story has been butchered in media adaptations, but the Judas Contract and the George Perez run as a whole.
Okay, there you go.
The new Teen Titans, absolute perfection there. George Perez and Marv Wolfman.
Heck
One of the greatest runs of all time, was outselling the X-Men when the X-Men were the best superhero team in the business. Basically letting Dick Grayson become Nightwing. You get the Terminator. You get that, all that good stuff in there.
Deathstroke, baby, my favorite DC villain.
I still say the best media adaptation of that story was Teen Titans 03.
Probably the old Teen Titans animated show because Young Justice did. Young Justice didn't do it. The animated DC movies didn't really do it that well. The Titan show did it kind of. But
Rose was a stand-in for Terra, but you got the gist of the story.
Exactly. They kind of had the Terra-like character.
The Titans show is awful. No one should watch that.
Yeah.
I actually like the characters.
I'm like, there's absolutely no reason to watch that show ever again.
No.
It's god-awful.
Very bad. Terrible takes on every character.
My next run, it's going to be another DC run. Big surprise. But I got to go with Jeff Johns' Green Lantern.
I knew you were going to bring that one up.
Yes, there's absolutely no way you can bring
Which one?
The first one, the one with EVS, that was like pre-New 52 and all that.
Very nice. So we're talking about the Sinestro Core Wars and
Green Lantern Rebirth, Blackest Night.
Blackest Night leading up to that. Absolutely. Ivan Rice killing it on Blackest Night. That's the last great comic book event we've ever had, JHeat.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And it's like where you have, because again, he takes something that's existed for a long time and expands upon it. Like, why are the Green Lanterns weak to the color yellow? He had to explain that because I was just stupid as hell. And how do we expand the Green Lantern Corps world? Let's introduce other Lantern Corps and have them be like, okay, red is going to be rage, obviously. Yellow we've already established is fear. Blue is hope. Which the one thing I don't like about Blackest Night, they never gave Superman a Blue Lantern ring. I'm like,
that's like the most amazing scene though when you finally see all the
great.
superheroes getting their rings and what Lantern Corps they would
But
be
giving
a part of?
Superman a ring would have been too overpowered because you already have Barry Allen getting a ring.
You had Sodom Yacht having a Green Lantern ring. What are you talking about overpowered?
I'm just saying that would have been a critique.
No, but I'm just saying it makes sense if you're giving them rings that represent their characters.
Oh,
why does Superman get a blue ring?
It makes sense, but at that point, the series would go on for another 2 more issues. And if you had a Blue Lantern-powered Superman, you wouldn't be able to drag that fight for 2 more issues.
True, but I'm just saying it was a missed opportunity. Just a really missed opportunity.
Definitely.
It feels like they seized enough opportunity in that series that it probably didn't.
But yeah,
still perfect.
When you give me like Mera as a Red Lantern or Wonder Woman as a Star Sapphire, I'm like, you know what? Or like the best one, Lex Luthor as an Orange Lantern. I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
Scarecrow as a Yellow Lantern? Absolutely.
All right, so Wes, what's another fantastic comic book run?
I was about to go to Marvel, but you've inspired me.
All right.
With Superman getting a ring. I love this story. It's Jeff Johns. It's Kurt Busiek. It happens in Superman and Action Comics. So I guess it's not really a run. It's more of a story. It's called Up, Up, and Away. Mm-hmm. And it's after Superman has lost his powers. And it's amazing. It really distills down the greatness of Superman. He's not a superhero because he can fly. He's not a superhero because he's invulnerable and stuff like that. He's a superhero because he's Clark freaking Kent. He was raised to be that way by his parents. Without his powers, he becomes the best reporter in all of Metropolis, even better than his wife. He's out there putting his life on the line, trying to stop crime in the city. And after his first encounter with death, it was almost killed. He's saved by a few heroes in the universe. And I believe it's Hal Jordan. No, it's not. It's Kyle Rayner. They're up on a building, and he says, Clark, just to let you know, we have a Green Lantern ring waiting for you whenever you're ready to be a hero again. And he puts it on. He elevates in the air, and he still looks like a complete nerd. He doesn't all of a sudden have a green Superman costume on or anything. He's still Clark Kent, and he's still got the glasses on. He's just glowing green because that's who he is, and that's the essence of the superhero. Then he gives it back, and obviously by the end, he gets his powers back. There's also some really cool stuff with Toyman in there. That is my favorite Superman run.
If we're counting short stories, I got to go with the one-shot What's Wrong with Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Better known as Superman versus the Elite.
Otherwise known as Superman versus the Authority. That's fantastic. I love that one. So my next one. All right. My next one is a Marvel run. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with, I really have to think about it, Donny Cates' Venom. Because it's like that whole run, the way he builds up to Null and then it gets to King in Black, where like he keeps seeding in who Null is. He's this big badass. Then Null shows up and like, say for instance, kills the Sentry, who apparently has like the power of like 1,000 exploding suns. I forget exactly how Marvel describes it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this freaking dope. Plus, when you do research into Donny Cates and how much he's like a big fan of the character, you can tell that he's very passionate about the source material that he's using, and that's so missing in today's comic book market, where you have a writer that really, really, really is passionate about their character.
Indeed.
There's only one downfall to his Venom run, and that's Absolute Carnage, which they sold as an event, which was really just a precursor to the King in Black. It should have just been
that's true. The
story within Venom.
It even has its own omnibus, and I'm like, oh, geez.
But the Ryan Stegman art absolutely puts that one over the top. Yes. That was very, very good. It was right there with what was it, the Immortal Hulk there for a while.
Oh yeah,
what's the best?
What was it, the Immortal Hulk there? Oh yeah, what's the best?
We got
I think of JJheat. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, that Immortal Hulk run. I'm just gonna give you a preview. I'm going through it again right now. Oh my gosh, is that amazing? You,
Up to
you
about
turned
20,
Hulk
issue 23. That it kind of just
you turn
tails
Hulk
off.
into a John Carpenter movie, pretty much. Let me see if it's still echoing. No, that's still going. But yeah, you basically turn Hulk into a John Carpenter movie. I'm like, geez, this is awesome.
Well, he's also deep diving into all the stuff that Peter David was playing with back in the day during the greatest Hulk run of all times, and really finding the best stuff and doing some really good stuff there.
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
knew Al Ewing had it in him? I didn't.
Yeah, there you go. Well, so Wes, what's another really good run that you enjoy?
You know what I like a lot? And I am a bigger DC fan. I'm a bigger Valiant fan than Marvel Comics. Marvel's obviously had some really good stuff. But the Mark Millar Ultimates run.
Oh, yes.
Is so good. It's an amazing version of the Avengers. They take a lot of that stuff, and that's basically a lot of the template for the movies. The art is absolutely badass. The only thing about it that I don't really like is the Hank Pym Wasp stuff, where he's like trying to shoot her, talking about her laying eggs in the bed. That's all kind of weird stuff, but it's just a really impactful run, just well illustrated, and that's why Mark Millar doesn't have to work for Marvel Comics anymore, because he's a genius and he got the Netflix deal. But when he was at Marvel, like he was basically bulletproof. Civil War, but I would say Ultimate's even better.
Yeah, because you had again, speaking of the art, you had how Brian Hitch on art, and
absolutely. Most
of the looks for the MCU characters that everyone loves, like the military Captain America, is based on that. And when you look at it, I'm like, that's a fantastic way to modernize these characters' looks. Because let me put it this way, the classic Captain America look is not going to work in a modern context because it looks stupid. He successfully turned it into like a modern warfare like look, and I'm like, that works really well. What's up, JHeat?
Am I still echoing?
No, you're good.
You're good.
All right. So Wes and I were just talking about the Ultimates run from by Mark Millar from the Ultimates comics.
Oh, definitely. The Ultimates was pretty solid. Now there were a few duds, especially towards the end with Ultimatum, but the Ultimate.
Yeah, that's Jeff Loeb.
That's Jeff Loeb.
Super writer.
This is Jeff Loeb. We're talking about the stuff purely with Mark Millar.
Oh, okay, the Mark Millar stuff was pretty good. Okay, I'll give you that.
So, JHeat, what's another fantastic comic book run?
Oh, now this one did get a little bit of heat because it came out during the all new, all different, but the God Butcher saga.
Ooh, with Thor.
The last great Marvel comic story they told.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You do have Immortal Hulk, which is great there for about 20 issues. Daredevil's good for about 25 issues, but that Gore the God Butcher, that was like the last story they told where you could see that's going to be a movie.
And then they tried to adapt it into a movie.
They didn't do it right.
No,
comic book is amazing.
Comic book is very amazing. Very amazing. And I mean, yeah, I know all different, but they did. But again, for a character like Thor who doesn't get as many like really big stories, I'm like, yeah, I like that. My next one, I'm going indie on this one. I'm doing Donny Cates on Crossover, which is basically the storyline where comic book characters come into the real world. You have some cameos by like a bunch of different Image Comics characters, and it's really cool because it's like he has like one of the characters wear a T-shirt that says "Wortham was right." For those that know that story, so I'm like, it's a very like what's the
Meta.
word? Yeah, exactly. Take on the comic book industry, and I really, really dig that storyline.
Not the world's biggest fan, personally.
Yeah,
I can see why you'd like it.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I like it because it's because you have well, I appreciate the story concept is what I'm saying here. And plus I like how basically the anti-comic book crowd becomes a bunch of radical born-again Christians saying like, pray the cape away. So I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing there. I see what you're supposed to be emulating. So, I mean, that's why I like it. I appreciate the sort of parallels that I see in it. But all right. What's next, Wes? Are you going indie? You're going Marvel? You're going DC?
Probably going to go back to DC and another great Superman run.
Yes.
John Byrne's Man of Steel.
Yes.
Before Man of Steel, Clark Kent, like you could never understand why Lois Lane would ever be interested in him. Why would she even let him buy her a drink? He's such a nerd. He's a goofball. There's no real gravitas to Clark Kent, only to Superman. And when John Byrne comes in there with Man of Steel and revolutionizes Superman, and that Clark Kent is the hero behind Superman and really just changes the way people look at the character even today. It was a perfect reimagining. I like Jeff Johnson. He's certainly trying to strip some of that away because I think he liked the Silver Age Superman even better. But the John Byrne's Man of Steel, obviously miniseries, and then going on to a Superman run. Probably it's so hard to say it's the best Superman run of all time. So there's been some really good Superman runs, but it's up there.
It's up there, yeah. It's up there. It's no Brian Michael Bendis run. Let me put it that way.
Please stop.
I had to, but yeah, I'm going through the first volume of the Man of Steel series, and yes, exactly. It's so good. It tells a very easy to understand and easy to get origin for Superman, and yeah, he does balance Clark Kent and Superman really well. So because too many times they make Clark Kent seem like a buffoon, but in the other one, yeah, he plays up the buffoon, but he also makes Clark Kent capable as opposed to just being a mask for Superman.
Yeah, I mean, he has to have a reason to not be there when Superman's there all the time. He's got to be a little bit scared when things are falling apart, but when it's just he and Lois, he's got to have some real character to him. Great
now,
stuff.
Wes, I want to go ahead and ask you this. Do you feel the Clark and Lois relationship is redundant in the modern day?
No, that's the backbone of the story.
Oh boy. He's asking that because I did a video arguing that point, and I got blasted by people online.
You should be. That was a terrible point.
Yeah, all right. But
the foundation of Superman is a relationship with Lois Lane. That's his humanity. Obviously, he was taught all these great lessons by his parents, but his humanity is grounded in Lois. Without Lois, there's no Superman. He goes insane and becomes Hyperion.
But that's an Elseworld story.
Or Homelander.
Yeah, or Homelander. You know what I'm saying.
But that's an Elseworld story.
Doesn't mean it has
that's
merit.
why you can't kill her off, because he would go insane. He would have no purpose for living.
Well, here's the thing about Injustice, what they did with Injustice 2, they knew that he would never just automatically be like evil. So what they did is they made it so Wonder Woman was like the real villain of Injustice and she corrupted him. So that's why I think if it happened in comics, it won't, because DC doesn't have the balls to kill Lois Lane.
This is what happens. If it happens in comics, they undo it in less than a year because they realize it was a mistake immediately.
Yeah. Yep. Which I'm like, all right. And actually, JHeat has a fantastic storyline that he wants to mention. Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Kingdom Come by Alex Ross.
Yes. The most gorgeous DC book of all time.
The original.
Really shocking if you read that thing. If you read it during like when all the uprising stuff was happening in the U.S., very, very relevant to modern times.
Mm-hmm.
The story he was telling.
Yeah, and plus you have the whole. Okay, so and by the way, Lois died and Superman did not go crazy.
He was an old man by then.
He brooded, but there was a storyline. They did a comic book tie-in for DC Online, their big like MMO video game, where Lois Lane did die. Superman went off and he brooded for like an issue or two, but he came back and he was fine. So I'm like, that's why they've done too many storylines where he doesn't automatically turn evil for me to buy it up, but to each his own. But anyway, to Kingdom Come. I liked how, like you said, that's basically the 90s versus the classic era, as I call it, because like you have the 90s characters, which are just there to fight people. And then you have like the superheroes saying, no, you actually have to fight for a purpose. And you can't like destroy half the neighborhood.
Pretty much.
JHeat, I feel like I interrupted you earlier. You had something to say about Kingdom Come. Why is it your favorite?
Because it's first of all, people like to hype up Civil War. First of all, Civil War was a ripoff of Kingdom Come. Let's just call it for what it is.
Kind of.
And second, because it's the art, the themes. Now, the Christianity allegories may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it really is a solid story from beginning to end, and a meta commentary not only about the brooding and the gravitas of anti-heroes and 90s extremism, but it's just a really hopeful story about redemption, camaraderie, and just trying to better the world. Now, I do have one nitpick, and that's probably due to the Son of Batman character being canonized in 06. The whole Ivan Zufrosh and Mary thing, because that just feels like Robin dating his own niece. That just feels weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in the day in the Silver Age, and Superman's maybe trying to nail his cousin.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he does some weird stuff sometimes.
you're dealing with an era of Superman where he was pulling a solar system on a chain. Yeah,
He might have been overpowered.
Might have been.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't want to be reminded of it, but I know what you're talking about.
There's this weird stuff. They even did it with like Flash. Like that's his cousin. What is he doing here? Kind of weird.
True. My next favorite is another indie, Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
Very interesting.
Because yeah, exactly. Thank you, JHeat. I appreciate it. Because for first off, you have Greg Capullo on art and also Todd McFarlane at times. But then you also have because I like this idea of a character. So he's an assassin. He gets sent to hell. And the hell guy goes, okay, so you're gonna be my avatar on Earth. So I'm gonna send you back to prepare the way for my arrival. Spawn shows up on Earth and goes, nah, I'm just gonna fight you. So I'm like, it's basically, when you think about it, an indie version of Ghost Rider.
I kind of see it, but Spawn's become so much of his own entity, he's kind of deviated from that.
No, I know, but like the origin story and like some of the elements are clearly Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah, the vengeance aspect, that's definitely there. But that was only there for like the first volume of Spawn, and then he just deviates into his own world.
True, and I do like a lot of what they're doing now with like establishing a Spawn's own like shared world. So I enjoy what they're doing right now.
Definitely.
Well, you Wes, what are your opinions on Spawn?
I think Spawn's a really interesting character. If you go back and look at the artists, you think about like Todd McFarlane really knows how to spot a really great artist. You know, obviously you got Greg Capullo. You got so many good DC artists in there. But there was a downtime where he made a mistake, kind of like DC and Marvel tend to do, where he decided, Al's not going to be Spawn anymore, and they kind of replaced the character. But he realized it was a mistake and undid it about as fast as he could. And obviously, leading up to Spawn 300, dropping the price down to $2.99, I think is really amazing. Obviously, that goes beyond just the storytelling itself, but kind of ends up being more impactful. And now he's got an entire Spawn universe.
Yeah, and that gets you brought up a good point, because it's like when you have like because he recognized his mistakes, so it's like and also he didn't have, so when he did have someone else be Spawn, he didn't have Spawn also show up and have two Spawns like DC apparently thinks they can do and have two Superman, two Aquaman, two Batman. Like, no.
Well, he's got about 8 Spawns going right now, so.
Yeah, but at least he makes it like kind of he makes them a little more distinct than DC tends to do it, which I'm still like, there are very few characters where you could have multiple people have the same mantle and it works. Superman and Batman are not it. Flash is one of them, because for so long it's been that way. And Green Lantern, it's a military force. Of course, it's going to be multiple Green Lanterns.
Flash is a rare exception to the rule because of the generational shift between the Silver Age and what I like to call post-crisis, the Bronze Age. Wally was the default Flash for an entire generation until Barry was drastically brought back. Mm-hmm. So that's more of a rare exception than anything else.
True. I mean, and it's just. Well, let me put it this way. I'm not everyone on this channel, and I believe Wes knows too, I'm not the biggest fan of John Kent as Superman, or like their attempt to have multiple Aquaman or Jace Fox Batman, which I love how they just have Jace Fox just leave now because they realize that he can't be Batman. But I just think it doesn't work if you're trying to get people into comics to go, because it's the same thing the MCU ran into. Okay, I want to go read a Thor comic because I just saw the movie. Who's Jane Foster?
Well, yeah, once you start making derivative versions of every single character, they lose their specialness.
Yeah, exactly.
There should only be one Spider-Man. You can only get bitten by a radioactive spider one time and be able to sling your own webs and stuff.
Or at least one person known as Spider-Man, because I think Miles could be more popular if he had his own name instead of just Spider-Man.
Yeah, or if he was just in the Ultimate Universe, but they killed that.
Yeah,
well, they are bringing the Ultimate Universe back for a summer miniseries, so who knows?
That would be an interesting way to sort of, and it's being written by Hickman, baby, with art by Brian Hitch. Yeah, I think this is gonna be pretty cool. This is gonna be pretty good. But I think that was okay. So I did. Who was next?
Oh, it's supposed to be me.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Wes,
you guys just mentioned Hickman, and that was actually my next choice. I'm going to say East of West.
Ooh.
Jonathan Hickman and Nick Dragotta on art. You can tell that Jonathan Hickman has something really special in his heart for the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. You get to see like a baby board. He was supposed to die, and they're all like little kids in this just really weird version of the United States, obviously in the future, where it's been segmented and you have these different cultures. And he just brings it all to life and tells this spanning like epic story over like 5 or 6 years. And East to West is just really amazing stuff. If you want a really cool contained story, kind of like manga, where you don't have to know what else is going on in the other worlds, go read East to West and you're going to like it. And the art by Nick Dragotta is absolutely fantastic.
I will check that out. What about you, JHeat?
This may be a hot take, but House of M.
House of M? Oh, that's it. That's not
Well,
really a hot
Michael
take.
Bendis.
Before he fell off, pre-2010.
That's basically the last thing that he did that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to call it really good. I can see where that comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
people like Bendis' X-Men. They didn't like his Avengers versus X-Men. That's where it went sideways.
Oh God, yes.
Oh yeah. But yeah, House of M is not really that much of a hot take out there because that was like a really solid event, even though that he had to make up a character to make people remember their old lives, Layla Miller, and her powers, literally, she makes you remember your past. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
And I thought Final Crisis had a Deus Ex Machina.
Exactly. I'm sorry, go ahead, JHeat.
Just have Scarlet Witch come to terms with what she did. They kind of tried this in the Scarlet Witch series, where she ultimately accepts what she did. But I just feel like that was more of a tacked-on ending to set up Doctor Strange 2 than anything.
True. Now, my last favorite comic run that I'm actually in the middle of is the Brian Reed Ms. Marvel run. Lord knows I'm not the biggest fan of Captain Marvel, but back when she was Ms. Marvel and she was written by someone with competence, she's fantastic. Are you kidding me?
You sure this isn't Avengers 200?
Oh, I'm sure it's not Avengers 200. Oh, jeez. But
dumpster fire there. I'm surprised you didn't go Chris Claremont there.
That too, but I'm saying the one that I'm really delving into right now is the Brian Reed one because I think that
got a real sexy look too.
Oh
yeah, it was nice.
Plus the fact is that because my biggest issue with Captain Marvel is Marvel treats her too much like she is the best superhero of all time. She is the Superman. She is like the universe is named after her. Where in this one, she makes mistakes and she's not like the best superhero. But she tries her best. That's the point. Is that you treat her more humble.
She has some pretty distinct flaws before she becomes Miss Marvel, where she's got the imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
where she thinks she wants to be a hero, but she doesn't think in her heart that she really is.
Yeah, and actually, this spins right out of House of M because in her House of M storyline, she wanted to be like the biggest superhero of the time, and she was that, and then it gets undone, and she goes, "No, I'm gonna endeavor to become that in my world." So I'm like, oh, okay, I really like that idea of that way of addressing that particular part of the character. I really dig that.
At least we got comic accurate casting in Brie Larson. Just saying.
Okay.
What, a Karen playing a Karen? It's perfect.
She's not a Karen in the Brian Reed version, though.
She wants people to believe she's the biggest superstar in the world, but she knows she's not.
She knows she's not.
She's not.
And if the public and if the test audience reaction to the Marvels is any indication, she's still not. But so Wes, what's one more really fantastic run?
Well, this is difficult for me. I'm going to go back to DC Comics. My favorite characters are Hal Jordan and Dick Grayson. It just so happens that my favorite writer, Robert Venditti, did a great Hal Jordan series called Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps. Absolutely fantastic. EVS and Rafa Sandoval are the two artists. It was coming out twice monthly. It's just a fantastic way to bring back Hal Jordan into the fold and show what a leader he is, but also how he contrasts from the other Green Lanterns. And there are just some amazing stories in there. And Robert Venditti, there's a reason he's my favorite comic book writer, in the industry today. Unfortunately, he's not getting nearly as much work as he probably should. But there's one issue, and I think it's Hal Jordan and Green Lantern Corps number 13. And is it 13? And it perfectly encapsulates like what it means to be a Green Lantern and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a one-off story. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you have never read Hal Jordan and Green Lantern Corps and you think you don't like Hal Jordan, go read that one. And by the time you're done, not only will you love Hal Jordan, you actually like Guy Gardner, which I never liked before. And so there's a story in there that made him redeemed in my eyes.
That's the Rebirth run, right?
No,
Absolutely.
Oh
yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I read the first trade of that, and I can back that up wholeheartedly. If you're not a fan of Hal Jordan, read this book. It will make you a fan of Hal Jordan. The dude becomes willpower and forges his own Green Lantern ring.
Now, before I name my last story, I will name an honorable mention. This was more of a crossover book. Superman, Wonder Woman, New 52, volumes 1 and 2.
Thank you.
Volume 3 does kind of fall off, but that was more editorial. Now, for my last actual favorite, Planet in World War Hulk.
Oh, yeah, where Hulk shows up and beats the crap out of Black Bolt. Yeah.
No, it's just pure comeuppance both in and out of universe, especially if you're a fan of Iron Man and everything that fell out of Civil War. It's just pure catharsis.
It's like the Illuminati finally getting what's coming to them.
Surprisingly, Namor wasn't in this event.
Planet Hulk is amazing. Greg Pak, who would have thought it? Like for like one period of time, he was like the best writer Marvel had. He was two classic stories back to back. Obviously, you get Scar, you get Sakaar, all that great stuff. Gladiators with Hulk, you can't go wrong with there. And then he gets his revenge. Perfect.
Dope. All right, so actually, Wes and I will give our honorable mentions. Mine is Superman, Wonder Woman from the New 52. Again, the first 2 volumes, because what that distills down. And again, it was spinning out of Justice League 12, where they became a couple, and what this. I like this series for a lot of reasons.
It's because you hate Lois Lane. Just be honest.
That's true. But there's also a interaction between Superman and Batman, where Batman goes, "Hey, listen, Clark. There's a reason why I've always been like relatively comfortable working with you specifically. It's because even though you have these fantastical powers, you were raised a human being. You will always see yourself as just a human that has these fantastical powers. It makes no difference that you're an alien from another planet." And that perfectly encapsulates why you don't need Lois Lane to have Superman be like more of the Superman character. But I digress.
Yeah. Let's have him date someone that's even as powerful as him. He is.
Sure.
What are they going to do to Wonder Woman that put him in danger?
Well,
there's more tension.
Are they going to kidnap Wonder Woman and hold her for ransom and put Superman?
Well, there were a lot of Silver Age stories with using her lasso on her.
Yeah, there were. Well, here's the thing, though. It's like even with Superman, he's fighting Greek gods in this case. And what's cool about it is that Apollo shoots him with sunlight, doesn't know what sunlight does to Superman. The Superman goes, "You hit me with sunlight. You obviously don't know anything about me." And then punches Apollo through a volcano. So I'm like, I love that. But it also really, because what this deals with is why it's like not like, I mean, because when people hear Superman and Wonder Woman together, they think, okay, so well, that makes sense. They're too similar. They're actually not, though, because when you look at the storyline, Superman is used to like keeping half of himself secret from humanity because the secret identity and stuff. Wonder Woman's used to embracing all that you are and like not really keeping a lot of secrets, and that actually establishes a lot of tension in the relationship. So I like the way it was handled. Now, volumes 3 and 4, because Charles Sewell was very vocal about this, they intentionally tanked it, even though the book was selling over 100,000 issues. And modern Superman writers wish they had those sales.
Modern writers in general, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Except for Batman, but with the Batman,
I don't think Batman's hitting 100 anymore.
Well, yeah,
80,000.
I hear it's about 80, 85.
Neither is Spider-Man, really, when you think about it. I'm like, that is just sad.
Spider-Man has been a mess since they literally made Mary Jane married with children.
The only person that was happy was Jared because he hates love. Like, good.
No. Hey, I like Mary Jane and Spider-Man a lot more. Well,
okay,
I just don't like Lois Lane's character because I find she's abrasive and she's really annoying, as in the case of like Heroes in Crisis or modern day Lois Lane. That's why I really don't like her.
To be fair, those were bad stories, and Lois was put in that situation. To be fair.
She was put in the position to publish the personal information of all these superheroes, including her husband, because she needed a story.
Wally did damage control and alter the data to where none of their identities would be leaked.
No, but she still did it before that happened, though. That's the issue there.
Wes, what do you think?
Balderdash. Superman and Lois Lane are meant to be together. If you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you. You don't like Superman.
Whatever. But
you don't like peanut butter and jelly either.
That's like saying you don't ship Batman and Selena. Like, come on.
Hey, that's very different. But anyway.
Silver St. Cloud.
Well, here's the thing. I could see how you wouldn't ship a Batman and Selena after reading the rest of the Tom King Batman run, but that's besides the point.
True. I'll give you that. Editorial gone bad. I'll give you that.
True. All right, but Wes, one more, one honorable mention run.
All right, my first honorable mention is not a run, but it is Superman versus Spider-Man by Jerry Conway. Absolutely brilliant.
Nice.
The last little run that I'll do, though, because you guys took New Teen Titans, and I love Dick Grayson, I'll do the Chuck Dixon Robin run, where he tells the early story.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic.
Chuck Dixon, baby. And we interviewed him on this channel. I know you've interviewed him on your channel. The dude's a solid interview. And yes, exactly. It's like if you ever want a storyline that perfectly encapsulates Robin, it's that. It's that. So I think it's a good place to leave it. Wes, where can everyone find you, and what have you got going on the channel?
I'm on the YouTube, so I have a little channel called Thinking Critical. I talk about comic books and pop culture, mostly comic books, a little comic book movies and stuff. But basically, I put out new videos basically every day, maybe sometimes 2 a day. Also do a live stream every Saturday called The Comics Aficionados. So if you like Geek Talk, come and join us on Saturday. We have a little bit of fun.
Awesome. I've been watching the show for many years, and I can very much back that up. What about you, JHeat?
Well, first, let me say I'm also a big fan of Thinking Critical, so it was a pleasure to have you on the stream. Thanks, and buddy. Also, as for me, I'm JHeat Blast. I'm a co-host for Comics League on multiple shows, but I'm also a gaming, comics, and manga channel, and you can find me at JHeat Blaze or JHeat75 on Twitter.
Awesome.
Very nice.
So on that note, everyone, stay heroic. Wes, it was a pleasure having you on again, brother. You're always welcome on the channel.
Well, thanks a lot. I love talking geek.
All right. Stay heroic.